Today I'm going to explain the parole process for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans that was recently introduced by the U.S. government. This presentation will be a step-by-step process, and it's presented by Advocates for Immigrant Rights. But who is Advocates for Immigrant Rights? Well, we're a nonprofit organization founded in 2018. We're based in Memphis, Tennessee, but we also have an office in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and we represent people across Tennessee, Arkansas, North Mississippi, sometimes Kentucky, and individuals who are detained in Louisiana and Mississippi. We represent people in the immigration court, but also with applications with the immigration office. A summary of this process. In order to benefit from the parole process, a person from one of the 4 countries must have a sponsor. Once a beneficiary enters the United States, they will have permission for 2 years. And during those 2 years, will be eligible to apply for employment authorization. This permission to enter the United States is not permanent, and it is not lawful status in the United States. This is only a 2-year period where a person will need to figure out what's next for their immigration case, with the idea being that people who enter the United States through this process will likely be applying for asylum in the United States because the conditions in the countries that are listed that are eligible for this process are such that many people who leave those countries are considered to be potentially eligible for asylum. So this process is temporary to allow people to enter the United States and apply for asylum or apply for some other kind of immigration status in the United States if they have the intention of remaining here for a more permanent period of time. Requirements for a sponsor. A sponsor must be a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident to sponsor someone from one of the 4 countries. The sponsor must have resources to receive, maintain, and support the beneficiary, and they have to prove that with financial records. A sponsor must also pass required national security and public safety vetting. This is like a criminal background check. To show that a sponsor has sufficient income to support a beneficiary, they will have to provide documentation of their finances that we'll talk about in a minute. But in order to be eligible to support a beneficiary, a sponsor's household must be at least within 150% of the federal poverty guidelines. So this means that the sponsor's household size is 4 because the sponsor is married and has 2 children, then the sponsor's household must earn at least $45,000 in a year. The sponsor's income could also be coupled with the spouse's income to demonstrate that the household itself has sufficient income to support a beneficiary. Eligibility requirements for the beneficiary. A beneficiary must be a national or citizen of Cuba, Haiti, Venezuela, or Nicaragua. A beneficiary must be over the age of 18, must not currently be in the United States, and must not also have some kind of legal status in another country besides their own, for instance, asylum, residence, or citizenship. A beneficiary must undergo and pass public vetting, public safety vetting, just as the sponsor must do so. A beneficiary must not have been deported from the United States in the last 5 years, and for Venezuelans, cannot have crossed illegally into the United States, Mexico, or Panama after October 19, 2022. For beneficiaries from the other 3 countries, Cuba, Haiti, and Nicaragua, they cannot have crossed illegally into the United States, Mexico, or Panama anytime after January 9, 2023. All beneficiaries must have a valid passport and must comply with public health requirements. That means getting all of the vaccines required by the U.S. government, including COVID-19 vaccination. What's the process? For each beneficiary, the sponsor must fill out a Form I-134A. That's a USCIS form that's available on the My USCIS portal on the internet. The sponsor must fill one form per beneficiary, but there is no filing fee. In fact, USCIS has made this application very simple so that an attorney is not required to help with the process. The form must include the beneficiary's email and specify if the sponsor is an organization, a company, or a third person that is sponsoring. Required documents. A sponsor must provide information to prove that they have sufficient income to support the beneficiary. Documents should include bank statements from the prior year showing the date the account was opened and the current balance. Also, an employment letter showing salary and type of work of the sponsor. Tax returns can also be used to substantiate a sponsor's financial circumstances. And if there are other investments that would help demonstrate that the sponsor has sufficient income, then documentation of that should also be included. Once the sponsor is approved by USCIS, the beneficiary will be contacted by the email provided to confirm information. That's why it's super important that the beneficiary's email be correct. This email will have instructions for the beneficiary to create a CBP1 mobile account. On this account, they will confirm biographical information and upload a photo. Once approved, CBP, that's the Customs and Border Protection, will notify a beneficiary via My USCIS that they have approved authorization to travel within the next 90 days. Beneficiaries must pay for their own travel expenses. The U.S. government will not pay for this. The approval does not grant entry into the United States. And so at an airport, the CBP agents have the authority to reject entry on a case-by-case basis, especially if something unusual comes up or there's something strange with the travel. So you can't take for granted that the pre-authorization is the final decision about entry into the United States. Once someone passes through the port of entry at the airport or at the border, they will be paroled into the United States. They will have 2 years to remain in the United States to figure out what they're going to do next. As I said, during that time, they will have work authorization and be able to earn some money while they're considering their immigration possibilities. I've already logged into the My USCIS website. First, I went to uscis.gov and I created an account. I created an account with my email address and a password. It sent an email to my regular email account, and I had to get the verification code and copied it to sign into this section of USCIS. Now I'm going to click on My USCIS to create or to submit a form for a parole request. Let's see. I'm going to be creating a form as the applicant, petitioner, or requester. Because I'm filing the form as a sponsor. Here it says you may use this account type to file an online form I-134A as an individual agreeing to financially support a beneficiary. That's the form we need to fill out for this process. Okay. Oops, we don't want to do a survey. So we want to file a form online. So we're going to create a new form. We're going to file the form I-134A, online request to be a supporter and declaration of financial support. So this makes clear they're only accepting applications for people from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Ukraine, and Venezuela. So Ukraine is on here, but it is not on our presentation. We may need to add that. Okay, starting the form. So as I said, this form is made to be simple so that it doesn't take a legal mind to be able to fill out the form. And it shouldn't be something that you have to pay an attorney to do at all. This is a step-by-step process, and it has all the information you need on this form. Again, there is no filing fee, and there should be no reason to pay anyone to do this for you. It outlines the documents required, specifically documents about your financial status, and information about ongoing employment. Okay. It requires a biometric service appointment. That means it's an appointment with USCIS to capture fingerprints, photo, and possibly signature in order to conduct background and security checks. Then we need to submit a declaration, and we'll go through this process. It says we'll track our case online so we can see how the case is going through my USCIS, respond to any requests for further information, and we should receive a decision through this online account as well. Okay, completing form online. We fill out the form. Okay, and just go through the step-by-step process. Okay, that's just all information. Then we'll start the form. All right. On whose behalf are you filling out this form? We are doing it for another individual who is the beneficiary. This is the person who's in one of the countries that's eligible for this process. I am filling out this form as under one of the following. So this would be, we're going to indicate what country the beneficiary lives in. Let's say Nicaragua. Okay. Is someone assisting with completing this declaration? No, because I'm doing it myself. So what is my current legal name? My current legal name is Casey, and last name is Bryant. I don't use a middle name, so I'm not putting that here. If this asks if I've used any other name since birth, I have not. I've never changed my name, and I haven't really used any nicknames. Provide information of the organization, group, or entity that is providing support to the beneficiary with you. So if my organization were also petitioning as the sponsor, I would enter that organization here. But mostly I anticipate that there will be individuals sponsoring beneficiaries. So I'll put the phone number here. This phone number is the same as my mobile telephone number, so I click this box. Here's my address, current mailing address. It's in the United States. Mailing address. This is my office address, but I'm going to put it as my mailing address. Okay, and that's in Memphis, Tennessee. Oops. Tennessee 3811. Okay. Is your mailing address same as the physical address? Yes. Okay. What's my date of birth? I'm just going to put 0101 1980. Okay. And let's say I was born in Memphis. What state or province were you born in? Memphis is in Tennessee. What is your birth country? It's the United States. Let's see if I can find it in here. United States. Let's see. It asks what your sex is. I'm just going to put X so that I'm not giving any identifying information. What is my current immigration status? U.S. citizen. I don't have an A number. An A number is the number that immigration assigns to a person once they're immigrating to the United States. So my social security number, I'm just going to make up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And what is your USCIS online account? So this says you will only have an online account number if you previously filed a form that has a receipt number that begins with IOE. If you filed the form online, you can find your OAN in your account profile. So since we haven't filed any forms before, we wouldn't have an online account number. So I'll just put, I don't know, or I don't have one. What is the relationship to the beneficiary? So you can be related to the beneficiary, but it's not necessary. It could just be, let's see, we have employee, employer. It could be former employer. It could be any of these people related, identity match. Not sure what that means. Not specified, other family member, sibling. Let's see if we have friend on here. Website. Okay. I'm going to put that this person will not be related to me, that it's not specified. Okay? This is a friend of a friend. I'm employed full time. What is your type of employment? I am employed currently as I am an attorney. Okay. Name of employer, advocates for immigrant rights. All right. And then we'll put the address. Okay. And I'll do the PO. Okay, I'll just put the address again. Walnut Grove Road, Suite 302, Tennessee. Oops. So I was trying to do an automatic thing. Tennessee here. Okay. 3811. All right. Move forward. Okay, this is information about me, any dependents I have, any other individuals I support financially. So this is going to be my households. And so I'll add an entry, and this will be, you start by putting information about yourself. Okay? And then I'll just put my birthday again. I am entering my own financial information at this point. How much will this individual contribute to the beneficiary annually? So I am going to put $45,000. How much income will this individual contribute to the beneficiary annually? Okay, so I'll put 45,000. Boop. I don't have any children, although I do have quite a few fur babies. So I'm going to say that I have 3 children, 3 dependents. So my total income is, I'm going to say that my total income is, okay, if I did 45,000 is how much I'm going to give. I'm going to say I earn $500,000, which is not at all true. So my income is going to be sufficient to support my 3 children and myself, which makes a household of 4. I'm giving $45,000, contributing that to the beneficiary. Okay. Does any of the income listed come from illegal activity, including illegal gambling or illegal drug sales? No. Does any of the income listed come from a means tested public benefits? That's, do I get some kind of cash benefit, or am I including food stamps or anything like that? The answer is no. Are you responsible for receiving, maintaining, and supporting the beneficiary for the duration You are responsible for receiving, maintaining, supporting the beneficiary for the duration of their temporary stay in the United States. That means I'm responsible to support the beneficiary for the 2 years that they're authorized to stay in the United States. So this says, describe the resources you plan to use or provide to ensure the beneficiary has adequate financial support to cover their basic living needs. So this would be, what am I going to contribute to the beneficiary? So I plan to allow the beneficiary to live in a spare bedroom of my house and ride a bicycle that I have. I will also provide, I said, $45,000 a year to the beneficiary. So that's how I'm going to help support the beneficiary once they get into the United States. So you are responsible for ensuring the beneficiary has safe and appropriate housing for the duration. Describe how you will ensure the beneficiary's housing needs are met. And this is going to be, this will be really where you need to put that they'll live in my spare bedroom. So I should put that here instead. And really you should take some time to explain what you mean. This could be, there's an apartment complex down the road from my house, and I know the manager who lives there, and I've arranged for them to lease an apartment to the beneficiary once they arrive, and I'm gonna be the financial backer for that lease, or a co-signer or something. This says that the sponsor is going to be responsible for helping the beneficiary get access to services like learning English, finding employment, enrolling children in school, and things like that. So here's how you just write down what you plan to do to help them get established in the United States. Okay. Here's information about assets. So a sponsor has to prove that they have sufficient assets or income to support the beneficiary. If there's sufficient income, it's not totally necessary to include assets. Here, the USCIS is asking to show assets that can be converted into cash within 12 months and that will be used to support the beneficiary. So if the sponsor has sufficient income, it's not necessary to also include assets. But assets include money that's in the bank, cars that could be sold, a home that could be sold. It could be stocks or bonds and investments. It could be retirement accounts. And any assets will require proof of that asset that you'll upload as evidence. So to add assets, you indicate who is the owner of the asset, what type of asset is it. So this would be bank account, savings account, annuities, stocks, bonds, retirement, real estate holdings, personal property, as I mentioned before, and then what is their cash value. Okay, so I'm going to cancel this because we're not going to add an asset since we said we made sufficient income. And then we'll add the amount here. So we're not adding an asset, so I'm not going to do that. This question says, have you previously submitted an I-134 or Form I-134A on behalf of a person other than the person listed? So if yes, then you have to include that person in your household income as well. So I wrote that I have 3 children, so my household size is 4. But if I have previously submitted one of these forms on behalf of another person, then I have to list my household income as 5. But I'm going to put no here. Let's see, what is this asking? Financial responsibility. Okay, but let's click yes and see what this financial responsibility for other beneficiaries asks. Provide the information about the people for whom you have previously submitted Form I-134 or I-134A other than a beneficiary. So let's see. So we just add their name, what their A number is if they've been assigned one by immigration yet, and then the date that it was submitted. Okay, so we're not going to do that because we haven't really done it. We're just doing that to see what we have here. Okay, I'm going back. All right, so I'm going to say no instead. Okay. Next, what is the beneficiary's current legal name? This is very, very important to get right. We want to have the exact name that's on their passport or their identity documents. We're also going to need to identify correctly and accurately if they've ever used any other names. So this could be that they used a different version of their name, or maybe they have a middle name that sometimes they use and sometimes they don't. If the person has two last names, if they sometimes only use one last name, then they need to indicate that they have used that. So if the person's name is Sylvester Garcia Hernandez, and sometimes they go by Sylvester Garcia, then they need to have their full legal name here, but then indicate that they've used additional names and then indicate that they've also gone by the name Sylvester Garcia by itself. Or also if there's just any other names, or if they changed their name after they got married, or they changed their name for some other reason, it needs to be indicated here. Okay, how may we contact the beneficiary? Their phone number should be accurate and it should include a country code. This is for mobile telephone number, so these two phone numbers may be the same. Email address, as this is must be a valid and correct email address. This is how the beneficiary is going to be contacted to confirm that this information is correct. Okay, and mailing address for the beneficiary in their country. It really should only be in one of the 5 countries indicated as being eligible. And do the best you can. I know some countries don't really have the same kind of addresses as we do in the United States. Is the beneficiary's mailing address the same as the physical address? So yes, unless they somehow use a P.O. box or have some other system for mail delivery that doesn't go straight to their address. Okay, so we put the beneficiary's birth date, the city or town they were born in, the state or province or department they were born in, and then the country they were born in. Okay, we'll go to the next one. And you put the beneficiary's sex that's on the identity document. So whatever the passport says is what should be indicated here. And then the beneficiary's marital status, if they've never been married, if they've been married, divorced, widowed, separated, etc. What is the beneficiary's country of citizenship or nationality? They can only be citizens and nationals of Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Ukraine, or Venezuela at this time to be eligible for this process. Okay, and what country issued the beneficiary's most recent passport? The passport needs to also be from the places where they are citizens or nationals. Okay. What is the number of beneficiaries' most recently issued passport? So you just put the passport number here and the expiration date here. A number, this would be if somehow they've previously entered the United States, they would have been assigned an A number. But if they don't have one, you just click I don't have one. This is what is the period of stay in the United States? So if someone wants to enter the United States to apply for asylum or some other kind of legal status in the U.S., you'd click no end date here, but you'd put the anticipated date of entry. So I would say like 2 weeks to a month from when this application is processed. And that doesn't have to be exact. but I would put no end date if there's some idea that the beneficiary is planning on staying in the United States permanently, or applying for lawful status to stay in the United States permanently. Okay, income of the beneficiary. We add it here. So we want to we're going to add the beneficiary's name and information, their birthday again, the relationship to the beneficiary. So this would be, I'm just going to see if there's one that's self. I guess so. This you would use if the beneficiary relies on income from a family member. Okay. Cancel. So you add entry here if you're going to include any financial information for a family member of the beneficiary, or if the beneficiary has a dependent. This question asks the beneficiary's total number of dependents. These are all the people that depend on the beneficiary's income for support. If the beneficiary has a spouse and children that they support, then they'll need to put the number that is. So if it's a spouse and children, it would be a spouse and 2 children, and that would be 3, for instance. If one of the children is actually an adult person, then you would add that child's income, name, information, birthday, relationship, and then income that's contributed to the beneficiary. Okay? All right. How much income will the beneficiary's dependents contribute to the beneficiary annually? So if they're minor children, or then it would be 0. But if the beneficiary's spouse, for instance, works, and that person would contribute to the beneficiary while the beneficiary is in the United States, you could put, I don't know, $3,000 or something. Okay. Next. Does income from dependents and other individuals who contribute to the beneficiary's income excluding the individual's named? Okay. So this is asking if any of the beneficiary's total income comes from illegal activity, like gambling or drugs sales. No. Does the beneficiary's total income come from means-tested benefits? So this is something that would be granted in the United States, and no, they don't have that. Okay, this is asking for any assets of the beneficiary that will be available to them to use during their stay in the United States. So this would be, again, bank accounts. So you want to put the name of the assets holder. So the name of the beneficiary, or name of the person whose assets are going to be listed here that are going to be for the benefit of the beneficiary. What type of assets? Again, we have bank accounts, we have investments, we have retirement accounts, real estate holdings, so that'd be like a house or property, and then we have personal property like a car or something that we could sell. So then we put the total cash value here and then save. Okay. And if there's multiple sources of assets, we add multiple sources. Okay. And then I think once you add in the multiple assets, it'll calculate the total amount in US dollars to populate this window there. Okay, and this is where it's important for the sponsor to upload their bank officer statement. So this will be a statement from an officer of a bank or financial institution that indicates when the bank account was opened, the total amount deposited from the past year, and the present balance. Okay, because this is to prove sufficient income and financial resources to support the beneficiary. So you just look for the file here. It'll take you to your files, and then you can choose. Okay. All right. Employer statement. This must be provided from the the sponsor's employer, indicating date and nature of employment, the amount of salary earned, and whether the position is temporary or permanent. Okay, and this is just another way to indicate that sponsor has sufficient financial resources to support the beneficiary. So you click here to find the files on your computer and to upload, and then you go to next. Okay, then it requires a copy of last year's income tax return. So this is usually the IRS 1040 form, and you just upload a copy here. Okay. Bonds. This is also if you have. This is part of proof of assets. If you don't have any bonds invested, don't worry about it. And also, if you have sufficient income in your bank account and you make sufficient income on your taxes, there's no need to submit additional information to prove that you have sufficient income or assets. Okay. And really, it's kind of best to give as little information as possible. So if you have sufficient income, you don't need to give any other information about yourself or your finances. And finally, proof of immigration status. You want to prove that you're a citizen or lawful permanent resident here in the United States lawfully. Or if you have a lawful non-immigrant status, you'll need to provide an unexpired visa in your passport. So you'll scan these documents and then upload them in this section. Okay. Proof of assets of individual agreeing to financially support the beneficiary. This is the proof of your assets. So if you have a home and you need to show that, you're going to scan your title and mortgage. If you have a car, you're going to want to scan the title. Also, if you have a home, you need to kind of like indicate a copy of a recent appraisal to show the value of the home. Says you may not include the net value of an automobile unless you show that you have more than one. So you wouldn't just sell the car you use all the time, so you can't really use that as an asset. You have to show like your second car. Also, you can submit any evidence of value for you or your household members' assets. So this is just documentation that you own assets, that they're in your name, and that they are of a certain value. Okay, this is proof of the beneficiary's assets. So same kind of documentation. This is proof that the beneficiary has any assets they can contribute to their support and well-being, and they're similar documents. All right. Ooh, additional information. If there's any other information that a sponsor would like to include, I guess this will be, this is just if there wasn't enough room to write, or if there's some kind of comment about a particular section. I don't think this will be a place that's necessary to record any information. Okay, here before you submit your declaration, and when they're saying declaration, they're saying submit the form. You just have to review the answers that you've used to respond. This has all these error messages because I didn't actually fill in all the information as we were going through this. So it's indicating to me that I need to go back and edit my responses. But here you'll be able to see any places where you didn't provide the correct information, or there's some discrepancies or errors. You can go back and change them. And then you'll review everything, hit next, and it'll give you an opportunity to do a final review and push save and submit. So there you have it. That is the full I-134A online request to be a supporter and declaration of financial support. Once you submit this application, it will go to USCIS. an email will be sent to the beneficiary to confirm the information. The beneficiary will push some buttons that do confirm the information and fully submit this request. Once it's approved, it will indicate thusly on your My USCIS account portal, and will also notify the beneficiary. And so good luck with this process, and I hope this has been helpful.